What's up guys, it's Jared here coming at you with another video. Today I want to make something, so let's do a tutorial on how to make a DIY fingerboard. Alright guys, so first up we're going to need a mold to make this fingerboard, and I don't have a lot of money I want to spend on a mold, so let's print one up with the 3D printer. Alright guys, so I know you all don't have 3D printers probably, but if you do, this is definitely the best way to do this on the cheap. So what I had to do is I went to this website called Yeji, has a bunch of 3D print files, and you can find a lot for free, and this is where I found this mold, and it was absolutely perfect for the fingerboard that we needed to do. So here we are printing that bad boy up, and it only took a couple hours and it only cost me a couple bucks, and it worked perfect. All right guys, so let's begin the fun part. So we're gonna use a little bit of clear Gorilla Glue here, and we are actually gonna glue 5 plies of wood together. Now this is gonna be about 5mm thick wood. You can get this here on AliExpress. And I found the best way to do it is you're going to want to have the grains of the woods alternating. So when you buy it, try to get grains that are going in different directions. I kind of got a mystery pack with a bunch of different colors, a bunch of different woods, and I just kind of made do with what I had. But as you can tell, I actually didn't use every grain in a different direction, but that will definitely help with the strength of your board. But I found that doing 5 plies of this wood, I did have a little variation in the grain. It worked just fine. Now right now I'm actually just gluing these together with a little Gorilla Glue, and the less the better. You want to use something to scrape it and get a nice thin layer, because if you have too much glue it just doesn't seem to adhere very well. So I just do 1 layer on each side. You don't have to do 2 layers because you don't want too much glue, and get a nice thin even coat on every layer. And obviously I didn't put a coat on the very bottom of the first ply because it would just stick to the mold there. But this was a little trial and error. It took a little while to get the coats just right and make sure that the boards actually stuck together well. But yeah, this is what we're doing here. We are just doing nice thin coats on each layer and stacking them. We got a pretty cool color of wood, so it's going to have kind of a neat little stacking pattern when it's all said and done. So I was really stoked about that. One thing I will say is on the top ply of whatever your deck's going to be, I like to have the grain be vertical rather than horizontal. Just helps with sanding and everything, and it makes it look a whole lot cleaner. Alright guys, so now we're just sandwiching all of that together in our little mold here, and we are going to get that into the vise. That works pretty good from what I found. I have a little vise that I've had for a long time, and it seems to work good enough. If you guys have a hydraulic press, that would probably work even better. But even if you're on a budget, you could probably use a bunch of clamps. But honestly, the vise is like 30 bucks. Go to like Harbor Freight or something, and it'll be useful for all sorts of projects. So I just used my vise. And yeah, we're just gonna tighten it up as tight as possible, and then it should take about a full 24 hours to cure. I heard that this Gorilla Glue actually does cure a little faster than some other glues, so you could try it a little bit sooner, but I just let it cure for a whole day, and then we went back to check on it later. Alright guys, flash forward to the next day, and we are back, and we are going to drill some holes in this fingerboard for your truck. So we're just going to use this top mold that actually has guide holes in it. Makes it a lot easier, and we are going to use a hand drill. I like the hand drill personally. It lets you be a little bit more precise and a little more gentle with it. You could use a real drill, but it might just be a little bit more janky and not as precise. We're drilling 16th inch holes in here with a 16th inch bit, and that is what it looks like when it's all said and done. You got a nice stiff board with holes drilled in it. Perfect, and ready for the next step. All right, now we're over here at the sanding station, and this here is called a shaper. This is something I also 3D printed. It came with the design that I downloaded earlier, so you can print this with the same design. We're gonna put the board on the shaper here. Just gonna use a couple nails to hold it in place, and right now I'm cutting off some of the access. This is just gonna make it a lot easier to sand down. You don't gotta go too crazy, just get some of the bulk off there, make it nice and easy to sand down. But yeah, once I got that bad boy cut, we're gonna start sanding. Alright, one thing I want to note when you begin sanding is if you're going to use a sander like I am, you're going to want to sand down towards the shaper, not the other way around. That makes sense, because if you do, you have a chance of chipping some of the plies, and that's not going to look good. It's going to look real ugly, and it's probably going to mess with the strength of it, especially if you're using a lower grit. Right here, I'm using 80 grit, and it does a pretty good job of just cleaning it up real fast. But we're just going to do a little bit of a rough sand here on the wheel, and then we'll take it over to the other sander and clean up and get some of those edges nice and fine. Alright, so now we are going to drill some countersinks on all of our holes we drilled previously. I'm going to use a 1/8 inch bit, and we are just going to drill down to the second layer of the ply. My second layer is actually blue, so it made it easy. I could just look, and when I saw blue, I knew I had to stop. Definitely don't want to accidentally drill all the way through. Otherwise, your screws are not going to sit very well when you're trying to hold your trucks down to your fingerboard. But yeah, drill those countersinks real quick. Alright, time for the not so fun part. We're going to hand sand this the rest of the way. I'm going to try to work my way up to 220 grit, get this thing nice and smooth. This is pretty necessary though. You can get the top and bottom real good by hand, all the little tiny imperfections, and make sure your board is nice and smooth. So that's what I'm doing here. It takes a little while, so we will just skip through most of this. Alright, so now it's time to make my graphic. I got this holographic vinyl at Hobby Lobby, and I had a plan originally to cut it out the same size as a piece of paper, and then I could just print my graphic in my printer on the holographic paper and just stick it to it. But it really didn't work well. Apparently you can buy printable holographic paper though, so you could do this if you wanted, but I ended up just cutting it all into little tiny fragments and sticking it on there in kind of a creative way. I've done it with grip tape in the past, and I think it turned out pretty cool, but y'all can be the judge of that. But here's kind of what it looked like. Alright, we're pretty much finished with this bad boy. Last step is we need to clear coat it. So I got a little bit of clear lacquer, and I did 3 layers on both the top and bottom. And bam, there is your finished deck. I did a little bit of artwork with the wood burner on the back here, just to add a little extra pizzazz. Just set it up here now, and boom, you have a finished DIY fingerboard. Well, I hope this video helped you out. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And if you don't want to go through the trouble and make your own fingerboard, you can also check out our website. We have professionally made fingerboards on there. Link below.